You cut your calories. You jogged for miles. You did hundreds of sit-ups until your core burned. And yet, after weeks of exhausting effort, you're still left staring at the exact same stubborn layer of belly fat. The reason your routine is failing has nothing to do with your work ethic. It fails because traditional fitness advice treats all fat as identical stored energy. That approach ignores the body's internal biology. In this anatomical cross-section, the fat you pinch right beneath the skin is subcutaneous fat, which responds to standard exercise. But push deeper, behind the abdominal wall, and you find visceral fat, a dense mass wrapping tightly around your liver, intestines, and kidneys. Because this visceral mass sits deep behind your muscle layer, the physical crunching of your abdominal muscles never actually touches it. You can build core strength, but you cannot physically flex this deep fat away. Visceral fat functions as an active endocrine organ. It continuously secretes inflammatory chemicals and rogue hormones directly into your bloodstream. This internal toxicity is so independent of your outer appearance that doctors recognize a specific condition called TOFI, thin outside, fat inside. You can have a flat stomach and still harbor a web of visceral fat suffocating your organs. Once those inflammatory chemicals hit your bloodstream, they scramble the communication between your cells. Your cells stop recognizing normal signals, which forces your pancreas into overdrive and creates insulin resistance. Your metabolism is effectively hijacked. A chemical threat requires a chemical solution. To clear this mass out of your abdomen, you have to manipulate your hormones. The gym equipment won't help you here. This graph maps the insulin levels of a typical 24-hour modern diet. From the morning toast to the afternoon cookie and the late-night pasta, the average person triggers 5 massive spikes of insulin every single day. Insulin is your body's master storage hormone. When levels are high, the chemical pathway for fat oxidation is physically obstructed. Your body cannot access stored visceral fat for fuel. Shifting into a fat-burning state requires forcing insulin down to its baseline. That is where the 16-8 intermittent fasting protocol comes in. By restricting all calorie intake to an 8-hour window and fasting for 16 hours, you give your body the time it needs to clear the insulin from your blood. During that 8-hour eating window, replacing highly refined carbohydrates with protein, whole grains, and healthy fats prevents the aggressive spikes from returning. Protein digests slower, keeping your hormones stable. A sustained low insulin state is required for visceral fat loss. If your insulin remains elevated, your fat-burning engine simply cannot turn on. Once a sustained fast lowers your insulin and makes fat stores accessible, the body can use an extra push to clear the deposits. Specific natural compounds can help speed up this metabolic process. Black coffee in the morning delivers caffeine, raising your basal metabolic rate. It physically oxidizes fat cells, breaking down their structures into usable fatty acids. If caffeine irritates your stomach, traditional medicine offers an alternative, a blend of carom, fennel, cumin, and fenugreek seeds. When roasted and mixed into warm water, these 4 seeds neutralize digestive bloating and target the specific enzymes linked to visceral fat storage, pulling toxins out of the gut. These natural accelerators augment a metabolism that is already geared for fat loss by low insulin levels. There is a second hormone that defends your belly fat, cortisol. When your body senses stress, cortisol commands your system to hoard energy, packing it into the abdominal cavity. Modern life keeps this hormone elevated. Continuous scrolling on your phone late into the night, chronic sleep deprivation, and low-level daily anxiety tell your biology that you are under threat. You have to manually override this stress response. Shutting off screens an hour before bed and dedicating 15 minutes to deep breathing exercises directly triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, forcing cortisol levels down. You can also use thermal therapy to influence the system. Look at these cellular mitochondria. When cold exposure hits your body, like a brief splash of ice water in the morning, these structures are forced to activate, burning surrounding energy to generate heat. Because of cortisol, the way you exercise matters. Long cardio sessions actually spike your stress hormones. Short bursts of high-intensity interval training, or HIIT, provide the metabolic boost without trapping your body in a high-stress state. An inflamed, high-stress internal environment will resist weight loss efforts. Controlling cortisol is the final barrier to clear to access that deep belly fat. The complete metabolic equation is a 24-hour cycle. You control insulin with a strict 16-8 fasting window, You accelerate oxidation using black coffee or seed powders, and you suppress cortisol with thermal exposure and proper rest. Reducing visceral fat is the primary defense against heart disease, fatty liver, and type 2 diabetes. This medical schematic shows the reality of the inflamed system we are trying to clear. Tomorrow morning, stop doing crunches. Abandon the hours of generic cardio. Give yourself exactly 14 days to implement this chemical reset instead. By outsmarting your biology in the kitchen and in your daily routine, rather than fighting it on the gym floor, you can finally force that stubborn belly fat to melt away.